Alright guys, so today I'm working on this GE profile. It is model number
PGCS1RKZA.
This came from a friend of a friend. It just stopped working and they just wanted it out of their way. They said I can have it if I hold it off. So I'm gonna look into it, see what it is, see if I can fix it. So right now it's unplugged. I just brought it home a couple hours ago. And so I'm going to plug it in and see what happens. So I can hear something cycling on and off in the back. And you can also see that I'm flashing zeros across the screen and it's cycling across. I've read online that this is caused by a faulty circuit board. One other thing that happens is the lights inside flash a couple times and then they won't come back on. Alright, so from what I read online, when you've got the zeros flashing across the screen, it's probably a faulty control board. The control board is behind this panel, and from what I was reading, it said look for burnt spots. So I'm going to pull these screws. There looks like there's about 8 or 9 of them, and it's just a 1/4 inch bit. We've got the board back here, got a little ground strap, and I'm going to get you in here close just so we can see if there's any burnt spots. So I don't immediately see any burnt spots, but I'm going to go ahead and remove this board just to see if there's any burnt spots on the back of it. Okay, with all the connectors unplugged, there's looks like 4 white tabs here, here, way up here in the corner, and way down here in the corner. And you just got to squeeze them in with some pliers and pull the board out. You can see this ground wire can stay on there. There does appear to be some discoloration in this area, and a little bit through here. I got the circuit back in on the bench, and as soon as I got it in here, the first thing I noticed was these 2 guys right here. You see how they're swollen? Those are 2 capacitors. They're a 470 microfarad 25 volt capacitor. They're both swollen, so that indicates to me that they're probably bad. So I'm for sure going to replace those 2, just because even if there's nothing else wrong with this board, and if it happened to be working perfectly, those 2 wouldn't last much longer. Okay, I looked through all of my parts bins, and the only thing that I've got suitable is this is a 470 ohm 50 volt capacitor, but you can see it's much larger diameter. Or I've got one of these, it's a 470 microfarad 25 volt, so same specs, but it too is larger diameter. The height I'm not real concerned with, but I just don't know if it will fit in that space. And then I also have this little circuit board that came out of something that got thrown in the trash. And this capacitor right here is a 470 microfarad 25 volt. So this too would be the correct specifications. Oops. But these are both larger diameter. I don't think they're going to fit in there, but I'm going to go ahead and unsolder these 2 because I need to replace them anyway. So I'm going to get those 2 unsoldered. One thing to note about this board, both the top and the bottom are coated in some kind of clear something, some kind of clear coating. I tested these 2 resistors. They're just a 2 ohm resistor, and I had to scratch the coating off of the leads just to get my meter to read. Same way under here, when I was testing the diode on these two pins here, I had to scratch some of that clear coating off just so I could get my meter to read. These capacitors are polarity specific. This would be your negative side. This will go to your positive side. So let me get those unsoldered and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I've got one out. It was kind of a bear because whatever that clear coating is, it kind of glues these things to the board. So not only do you have to get the solder joints to release, you also have to break the bond between the component and the board via whatever coating they put on this. Okay, so I was able to squeeze these other capacitors in here. This brown one I had in my parts bin, and the black one I salvaged off of another circuit board. So they're in there pretty snug, but they're not making contact with anything else. Whatever coating that was on there kind of melts and goos all over the place, but I think we should be okay. So I'm gonna go back up and put this back in, get all the wiring hooked up, and give it a shot, see what happens. Okay, so there the circuit board's back in. You can see the two new capacitors there of uneven height, but they're in there. All the wiring's hooked back up. Got my ground hooked back up. And let's go plug it in. Sounds like compressor's on. Got some high-pitched whining out of this thing, but that might be normal. I don't know. See if we can do turbo cool. So TC means turbo cool. Turbo cool is activated. Freezer set to 0. That goes off automatically. Lights come on. Okay, so it's 11:19. I just put this thermometer in here. You can see we're currently about 70 degrees. I did have this in my hands warming up before on the way out here, but we're 11:19 p.m. We'll check back in a little. It's been about 35-40 minutes since this has been running. I still have it in turbo cool mode. Our thermometer inside was at right about 70 degrees about 40 minutes ago. And so we've dropped 20 degrees. So we're definitely cooling. It's 7 o'clock the next morning. Been roughly about 8 hours. I'm a little concerned because the turbo cool light is still on, and I would think that in 8 hours it should have gone to the default. So we'll see what the temperature looks like. Well, I mean, we're under 40 degrees, so it's definitely cooled off. Let's see, how close are we to? That's about 37, so that is default factory temperature. So I'm gonna turn turbo cool off. And it shows that the actual temp is 33 degrees. Let's see, is it freezing cold? So it's cold in there. Yep. Now, of course, I don't have any food in here, so I can't tell you if it's keeping food cold or not, but I believe we've got a worker. All right, guys, so that's it for this one. I'm gonna continue to monitor this for a week or so just to make sure it continues cooling, make sure everything works. I may try to hook up a water line just to make sure the ice maker works. But I think this is a fix for it. So if you've got a GE refrigerator that has these same symptoms where the lights flash when you first plug it in and then it powers off and you've got the zeros rolling across the display, check capacitors on the main control board. If they look swollen, If you have the capability of replacing the capacitors yourself, I'd say definitely give it a shot. Even if you ruin the board, you're really not out anything. You can buy the replacement boards. I know there's a sticker on the back of the unit that says to verify that you're getting the correct board for that model of refrigerator. So I think this is a pretty common issue with these, not only this model, but probably many other GE refrigerators. So hopefully this helps someone. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Try to answer the best I can. If you like what I do, be sure to give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date on my next videos. Thanks, guys.